You know, in our modern world, we tend to put knowledge into all these separate little boxes. We have endless specializations. But what if there was a totally different way to look at it? Today, we're diving into an incredible ancient system that tried to do the exact opposite, to create one single unified map for all of human knowledge. This system is called the Vidyasthathanas. And it wasn't just some dusty old library catalog. Nope. It was meant to be a complete blueprint for understanding, well, everything, from the spiritual and cosmic down to the most practical, everyday stuff. So how would you even begin to tackle something that massive? Let's break this ancient blueprint down, piece by piece, and see how they built this truly holistic map of reality. So the entire system is built on this really elegant framework of 18 distinct but deeply interconnected branches of learning. These are the Vidyasthanas. And these 18 abodes of knowledge, as they're called, aren't just some random list. There's a brilliant logic to it. They're grouped into three main categories. You've got the foundational texts, then the tools you need to actually understand those texts, and finally, the methods for applying all that wisdom to live a good life and build a good society. All right, let's start at the very bottom, the absolute core of this entire system. Here, we find the four sacred texts known as the Vedas. Think of it like a giant tree of knowledge. The Vedas are the trunk. They're the primary source that everything else grows out of. Every other branch in this system is there to support, preserve, and correctly interpret the wisdom that's locked inside them. Okay, so you've got this core knowledge in the Vedas, but how do you access it? How do you make sure you're preserving it perfectly over generations? That's where the Vedangas come in. They're the 6 limbs of the Vedas, the essential tools you need to do the job right. Now, these 6 disciplines were super practical, absolutely essential in a tradition that was passed down orally. And you can see how they build on each other. You have to start with shiksha, phonetics, to get the pronunciation exactly right. That flows into chandas, the proper rhythm. Then you need vyakarana, or grammar, and nirukta, etymology, to actually understand what the words mean. And finally, jyotisha, astronomy, and kalpa, ritual, tell you when and how to put it all into practice. And getting the sounds right with shiksha was no small thing. We're talking about a system where one misplaced accent, just one tiny error in pronunciation, could completely change the meaning and the power of a sacred mantra. And then you have chandas, the science of meter. This shows a really profound understanding of how rhythm and sound actually affect the human mind, our consciousness. Jyotisha, or astronomy, wasn't just about gazing at the stars. It was a practical science for timing. It was all about aligning human actions with the larger rhythms of the cosmos. And finally, Kalpa was basically the how-to manual. It laid out all the standardized procedures for rituals, making sure everyone, everywhere, was doing them correctly. Okay, so we've got the what, that's the Vedas, and we've got the how-to, those are the Vedangas. Now the system expands into what are called the Upangas, and this is where we start getting into the deeper questions, like why? These 4 branches take the core teachings and apply them outwards. They use Vedic principles to think about everything from laws for society to storytelling to the very nature of knowledge itself and how we can be sure something is true. This is where the rubber really meets the road. Dharmashastra takes all this high-minded philosophy and applies it to the very real problems of how to organize a fair, stable, and harmonious society. It's the bridge from the ideal to the real world. And this part is just brilliant. The Puranas recognized that not everyone's a scholar. So how do you teach these huge, complex ideas? Through stories. They used compelling narratives and allegories to make these profound concepts understandable and memorable for everybody. But the system goes even deeper. It asks one of the most fundamental questions there is. How do you actually know that what you know is true? This is the specialty of Nyaya, the school of logic, and it breaks down the whole process of how we think and know things. So according to Nyaya, anytime you learn something, 4 distinct things are happening. First, there's a knower. That's you, the conscious self. Second, there's the known, the object or idea you're trying to understand. Third is the means of knowledge, things like your senses or your ability to reason. And when those 3 work together, the result is the 4th component, knowledge itself. And here's the crucial difference. Nyaya puts the conscious knower right at the center of everything. You see, modern science is amazing at explaining the mechanics, right? How light hits your retina, how nerve impulses travel to your brain. but it often kind of skips over the most important part. Who is actually doing the knowing? Nyaya argues that without that conscious observer, the whole process is just physics. It isn't knowledge. All right, let's pull the camera back and look at the whole thing now. Let's see how all these 18 pieces fit together to create this one big, integrated picture of knowledge. The final 4 branches that complete the set of 18 are the Upavedas, or the applied sciences. This is where we get into the really hands-on stuff. We're talking about Ayurveda, the science of medicine and life, Dhanurveda, the art of warfare, Gandharveda, which covers music and the arts, and Arthashastra, the science of economics and how to run a government. It's wisdom for every part of your life. And this really reveals the core philosophy of the whole system. Every single branch is connected to every other branch. It's such a stark contrast to our modern world of hyperspecialization, right? In this ancient view, you couldn't be a great doctor without understanding philosophy, or a brilliant architect without understanding astronomy. It's all one system. And that's such a powerful reminder for us today. It suggests that every field of study, every bit of data, is ultimately just one piece of a much larger interconnected puzzle. It leaves you with a really big question for our time. In our rush to specialize, what essential wisdom, what bigger picture are we leaving behind?